Hey everyone, my name is Amber McCollum and I am here to get baptized today and share a little bit of my story. So growing up, I had two Christian parents who raised me in a home that it pointed towards the Lord. But growing up, something that was always kind of weird with me was sharing my testimony. And so I think looking back, the reason why I was uncomfortable sharing my testimony is because I was kind of compartmentalizing my relationship with God. It was more so about kind of how I presented myself to the world, and I was just kind of in the back of my head. I believed that God was maybe the savior of my life, but it wasn't really real until recently. But also recently, I started to deal with some kind of family issues. Basically, a family member of mine was making some decisions that were kind of hard to deal with. They were affecting me, they were affecting other people that I cared about. And I had a lot of resentment in my heart towards this individual, rather than kind of seeing him as just someone who was lost and maybe needed a friend, needed, someone to just kind of help him. I just kind of shut him off, and it was hard. But there was one day, I was talking with my mom in the kitchen, and she was talking about how this family member had lost a lot of his friends kind of along the way of what he was doing. But he had a few who had stayed, and they were loving him unconditionally. And when I kind of heard that word, something kind of like changed in my heart. And I got into my car. I went to Target or something, and I pulled into the parking lot, and it was like God had spoken to me in a way that I had never really experienced before. He kind of revealed to me that the way that my family members' friends were loving him in that unconditional way was the way that he loves me and he loves other people. It was something that I had never really understood, what grace was. I think I've always had a hard time grasping what grace is. It's something that it doesn't quite make sense to me, to be honest with you. I am firstborn, rule follower. I've just, the idea of just getting something that you don't earn, it doesn't make sense in my head. But what God did, it doesn't make sense to me, but it's what he did. He sent his son down to earth to die on the cross for my sins. It doesn't make sense that that's something that he would do, but it's a gift that we receive, and it's not something that I can earn. To me, I believed that mankind, we are sinners, but I didn't really believe that I was a sinner. I think that's kind of what my kind of vice was with why I wasn't really fully surrendering to God. And so I remember I texted my mom and I told her kind of what I was thinking, and the first thing she said to me was, "Look how God is using this terrible situation for good." And it was then when I kind of realized that my heart had just been very hard towards not only this person that I loved, but towards everyone. I didn't understand what God's love was until very recently. So about a couple months ago, I went to Guatemala on a mission trip, and it was awesome. And during the trip, Robbie made it very clear, he kind of led the trip, that everyone was going to share their testimony. So there was one day he was asking who wants to share their testimony, and I kind of made eye contact with him, and it was over. I was definitely sharing my testimony. So I shared it for the first time from what I kind of feel like, and it was good. I felt like I was just speaking about what God had done in my life and what he's doing in my life. Since kind of gaining this new understanding of who God is and what he's done, I feel like I see people a lot differently. I've always just kind of seen people as what they do and the decisions they make, not as just people who need a savior. I have never been baptized before, and I always kind of looked at baptism as kind of an optional thing, I can do it if I want to, but I think it's really important to be baptized because it's like a visual way to show like what God has done in my life. Like I have been born again and I've been made new. I have this new understanding of who God is and what He's done in my life, and I am just very excited.